Like I remember still like having, if I had to print a paper, I had to put it on a floppy disk. Yeah.
Hello and welcome to DinnerViews. I'm Matthew Francis, and this is basically a show where I get to cook a dream dinner for one of my amazing friends and then just kind of catch up with them and interview them about their life thus far. And today I have an amazing person with me, Kiano Moju.
Hi. Hi, Matthew.
Hi, how are you doing? Good?
I'm good. I'm hungry.
Good.
I hope you're going to feed me.
I'm here to give you so much food. But the first thing, before we get into actually eating, there's like a few games and segments. I make you wait for the food.
I gotta work for it.
Yeah, you gotta work for it.
Nothing comes for free in this country, huh?
No, not at all.
Damn.
But so the first thing is basically, we are already really great friends, but people who are watching may not know you or myself that well.
Okay.
Right? So first, let's say we had just met. Give me your like abridged elevator pitch life story. Who is Kiano Moju?
Oh, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Where do I begin?
From birth.
I'm first generation American, so come from immigrant parents. I'm like the experiment child. They're like, do we like it here? Let's pop one out in this country and see how we feel. So like my mom's from Kenya, my dad's from Nigeria, and I was born in the Bay Area, so Northern California, in Oakland. Shout out to the Bay.
Yeah.
And like kind of like lived all over the Bay, like Berkeley, Richmond, San Ramon, just like all these towns you've like never heard of. And then in high school, went to boarding school on the East Coast. So I got a heavy dose of winter life, a very young teenage age. And I got the concussions ice related to prove it.
Oh, do you really?
Oh no, I slipped on black ice many times.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, but somehow they trapped me. So I stayed East Coast for college. I went to Syracuse in even colder weather, which I didn't know was possible, but it gets colder. Came to LA, was like, what's up? Didn't really like it. Yeah. Ran to England for grad school and then somehow ended up back in LA.
Right. And where did we meet?
We met at work. So right after I finished grad school in London, I started working at BuzzFeed for Tasty in LA. So I literally was like still in London interviewing, like from my like little dark apartment because it was like nighttime when I was interviewing, and then came back to La La Land to cook.
Yes, and then I loved working with you because you were one of like the actual foodies on the team that I could like, really nerd out about when it came to food.
Like on a different level though, because like I never went to like culinary school as an adult.
Right.
I don't like being yelled at. Didn't seem like my prime education environment.
Exactly. Okay.
But like I started taking cooking class from like age 7. So like I would have my like soccer summer camp, and then right after I have my cooking camp.
Yeah.
And I did that from a really young age. And then like in high school we had like culinary course. It's like it was more than home ec because it was just like strictly culinary.
Right.
So that's where we had all of our like yes chef moments, and that's where it was like, oh, this is a yelly environment. So after doing that throughout high school, I was like, I'm done with like the formal that. But like I always just kept cooking on my own at home. My mom didn't really like cooking much, so the kitchen was like my domain. Like no one bothered me. No one's like, scoot over while you do. Like it was my playground. So I kind of got like a less formal culinary education.
You say that, but you're still like amazing at cooking, and you have like you still know so many terms. You're really great at what you do. So like don't ever diminish your talent because it's really great.
Thank you. But yeah, it was just different. I learned because all the terms and like all of the techniques I just learned when I was a kid, not as an adult.
Right.
So it's like almost like it's a very much more of like the way I do things because I didn't have to have anything corrected.
Right.
Like I learned how to cook
the correct way.
In a professional way.
Yeah.
And then
and it just kind of became a part of your style. It was like so like ingrained in you that you like even think about it too much, which is great.
Yeah, it's just very I'm grateful for.
Yeah.
Shout out mom for hating to cook.
And then one thing also I wanted to say is if you haven't seen Kiano, you're not familiar with Kiano, go to her Instagram, which is just Kiano Moju, right?
Yeah, Kiano Moju. I think I'm the only person on the planet with my name.
Yeah.
Which is fortunate.
You're so lucky. But she has beautiful photos of both herself and fashion and food. So like, do yourself a favor and follow her and like check out all of her stuff.
I do like food and fashion.
Yes.
You gotta like dress nice. Like I feel like we lost that. Like getting dressed up to go to dinner.
I have lost that. I am not someone that dresses up ever.
Like, I just want to, like, go have, like, a dinner reservation and wear, like, a satin strappy dress, like, with a leather jacket. And just feel comfy.
We always, like, say, like, Kiano is, like, the fanciest person we've ever met. Like, she's so posh, so fancy. But, like, when you're around her, you kind of, like, absorb it and you want to, like, be like her. So she's, like, basically, she is the hostess with the mostest. She is, like, the domestic goddess. She's all those things. And it's really wonderful to behold, actually.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to get into the first segment, which is game-related.
Okay.
So this is called Fast Food Favorites.
Okay.
Essentially, you're going to have 1 minute to pick out different, like, categories. So this is, like, a burger topping. You have to tell me your favorite flavor of all those things.
I thought it was about to be, like, fast food. I'm like, I don't eat fast food.
Yeah,
That's going to be hard.
It's a play on words.
Well, oh, got it.
Yeah.
I was like, no McDonald's for me, unless I'm in France.
Yeah, no. So there's, like, all different, like, so there's, like, different categories or whatever of different types of food. And you tell me your favorite flavor of those. And you have to try to get as many as you can under 1 minute. The score to beat right now is Salorm's 22.
But she can, like, talk fast. I'm a slow talker, so I'm, like, disadvantaged.
Do you want to win or do you not want to win?
Oh, boy.
Okay,
can I bring it closer? I feel like I have T-Rex arms.
And then I'm going to start the clock in 3, 2... and then after you're done, we'll like, chat about the weird ones, because I'm sure some.
So I'll just, like, read it out loud and then say what it is?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, what I like.
And 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, Last Supper has to do with fried chicken. Dairy item, milk. Cheese, feta. Oh, that was hard. Vegetable, spinach. Bagel, everything. Vinegar, red wine. Bread, baguette. Legumes, lentils. Sandwich, anything on focaccia. Nut, macarona, almonds, or however you pronounce that.
That's right.
Herb de Provence, it's a mix, but I love it. Oil, olive oil. Cookie, hate them. Kidding. Lettuce, butter. Snack, popcorn.
Okay.
Seafood, smoked salmon. Actually, lox. Comfort food, mac and cheese. Salad topping, dressing. Burger topping, cheese. How many I got?
We are going to count them up. I took out one cookie. You can't just say hate them. I don't think that counts as, like, a favorite flavor. But that's all right. You took out a lot of good ones. That's
a lot.
Yes, that's really good. You might have won. Let's see.
Yes.
Let's count them all up.
I feel like some of the things I said too aren't true. It's just the first thing that came to my mind.
Oh, yeah.
So 1, 2.
You're allowed to correct them now as we talk if you want.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18.
Okay, that's good. That's like middle of the road. That's impressive still. You can put them all back in there.
Darn it. I really kind of wanted to win, but I didn't have faith I would, so it's fine. I did better than I thought I would.
Yes. And then, so, of those things, like, did any, like, ideas come up that were, like, interesting to talk about?
Should we talk about the cookie?
Yeah. Like, so why do you hate cookies so much?
Because I love cake more, and I'll never... I'll never pick... Like, if I have the option and I'm in a bakery... There's no circumstance where I'll ever choose a cookie.
Got it. Yeah.
Like, they're just, like, they're fine, but, like, cake.
I'm the opposite, I think.
I love cake so much.
I think I like to look at cake because I think it's really pretty, but I'm never usually a big, like, ooh, let me, like, get a face full of that cake. I'd rather have cookies. Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Like, when I drive by a cake shop, I will be on the other side of the road, and I will either make a very legal U-turn or do, like, the turn, like, 3, like, left turn just to get back to it. I love cake so much, and cookies just don't do it for me. But, like, as far as, like, bakery cookie,
you're like, fuck cookies.
Not for me.
Got it.
Not for me.
Alrighty. Well,
but I do like baking them. They're a nice thing to bake.
Yeah. So. And then if you have to have cookies, would you rather have, like, crispy or, like, chewy? I guess.
I mean, crispy. The crisp on the outside, chewy on the inside is, like, I think the ideal cookie. And I'll make them. I love baking them. Yeah. I just won't eat them.
Got it. Wow. I actually did not know that. I don't think.
I make a lot of. I make a lot of things that I don't just like to eat.
Yeah, you just give away them. Yeah.
Because I know people like them, and I like cooking for others more than for myself. Oh. So, like, I know how to make all the fan favorites, but I guess it's why I can be a baker and, like, have self-control.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, cake.
It's for the room, not for me.
Yeah, but I can eat, like, a whole cake by myself, like, unfrosted. Why? It's so good.
Okay, so this was fast food favorites. Now we're done with that one. And the next segment is called What App? Okay.
Oh.
So essentially, I make you an appetizer.
Yes.
And then while we're eating the app, we answer questions from social media apps.
Oh, these are really clever.
I'm trying to be good with names. I like good
I'm
puns.
into it. And this is like everything I love in food.
Yes.
Just like tomatoes and bread.
Yeah, so I'll give a little like audio descriptor. So basically we have some heirloom tomatoes marinated with garlic, olive oil, salt, and pepper. Then we also have a little bit of like fresh basil in there. And then I made a pesto with pine nuts, basil, all the usual Parmesan, garlic, olive oil. And then just we have some grilled bread. And so we can kind of,
This is like literally how I love to eat. Even when it's winter, I pretend it's summer. And if I can get hands on good tomatoes, this is my all day, everyday food.
Yeah. Okay, dig in and I'll pull up the questions for you, all right?
Mm-hmm. Oh.
It's good, right?
I love bread.
Well, you tell your bread story because you were already kind of talking about that earlier.
My addiction to bread?
Yeah.
Well, bread is one thing I find, it's really hard to find good bread. Like proper bread. And today I went to a bakery called Fiona and bought a baguette. Very well intending of like, all right, it's a whole baguette. I'll eat some of it now, and then in like 2 days it's gonna be rock hard, and then I'll grind it up and make breadcrumbs out of it. And honestly, at the rate I'm going, I don't know if we'll make it through the night. I've just been eating this whole baguette by myself all day, putting like, that grass-fed butter on it. And like I eat butter. My like friend Cecile, she's French, and she is always like, Kiano, you eat butter like it's cheese. And I'm like, yes, because it tastes really good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for so many, hundreds of years, people lived off of mostly just bread, right? It's like it's such a good thing for you, and if you do it right.
Oh my god.
Is that good? Tasty?
This is literally one of my favorite things to eat in the world.
Good. Yeah.
It's just like a good marinated tomato on bread. But the thing is too, when you have like proper bread, it is very nutritious. Like when it's like a sourdough, it's like fermented. It's good for you. Bread is not the devil.
This is sourdough bread.
It is so good.
Thank you.
This is everything I love. If I just ate tomatoes, I wonder what that would do to my diet, like to my life. Like, is there negative? Well, if I eat tomatoes every day,
No.
it can have negative effects on one's body. I love them so much. Thank you. There's like a tomato diet, I could survive off that. Raw tomatoes, tomato sauce, shakshuka.
Well,
all that.
I was gonna say, I'm like the same way. I love tomato paste and like everything. I love sauces. I love marinara. I'm a huge tomato guy as well. It is so good. Alright, so let's answer some questions for the segment What App? I just love the names.
What up?
Okay. So the first ones are gonna come from Instagram, okay? And essentially about a day before I film, which is a day after the previous episode will go up on Fridays or Saturdays, so usually Sunday, I'll ask the question on my Instagram, Matthew Francis J, and that's where you can submit your question and have it be on the show. So this person, FertEQW, Ferteqw, says, can she do more Trinidadian dishes, and what are her favorite ones?
Ooh, Trinidad. So I've never made Trinidadian dishes before, but my mom had a really good friend when I was growing up called Lisel, and she's from Trinidad. And I ate the food. I remember loving the food, but I haven't really had much of it since. In California, we don't have like a huge Caribbean population.
Right.
So I more so got familiar with like foods from that region, like when I was in college, like in New York. But I didn't really have much Trini. Like my roommate was like Jamaican, so I got some stuff like that.
Yeah.
But Trini food, no. But I feel like I would like it.
Like to learn more, yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to know more. But it's definitely a region that I'm probably like less familiar with, particularly like from the diaspora.
Yeah.
I don't know too much about it.
Maybe this person was Trinidadian and just wanted you to make them food. Okay. When did you know you wanted to professionally work in food? Like what age, I assume?
Ooh.
Yeah.
we can correlate that with whatever year Emerald Live came out.
Emerald Live, really?
Yeah. Because I always loved cooking. And I thought it was just, like, fun. Like, I would be that weird kid. I was so weird. I would literally, like, put on an apron and a notepad and, like, take my family's, like, orders on, like, a Tuesday night for dinner.
Yes.
Like, what do you want to drink? And, like, I would set the table. So maybe I thought I was, like, restaurant, but, like, I don't have a personality to, like, be in a restaurant kitchen. It's too stressful for me. And I, like, for me, cooking is just, like, chill. Like, it's relaxing, it's joyful, like, in no way. Because I've done, like, I had a pop-up restaurant, and that was madness.
Yeah.
Holy moly. That was a lot. But it was like when I watched Emerald Live, I saw this, like, he made cooking the entertainment, which I thought was so cool.
Yeah.
Because, like, usually it's, like, in addition to where it's, like, people are having fun watching him cook. And I loved how, like, people are, like, on the bar stools, like, you know, watching his, like, interacting with cooking. And it's, like, very much, like, reflective of, like, cooking in my home. I'll invite friends over. I have, like, a couple bar stools that hang on my kitchen. And we hang out while cooking.
Yeah, totally.
And I'm like, this is a life. Like, to me, it seemed like the best life ever.
Yeah.
And, like, I thought I was like, that would be so cool to do. I never thought it could be a job for me.
Yeah.
Like, not till, like, I was in my, like, early, mid-20s. But that was when I was like, this is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
Like, Emerald did it for me.
And we've had, you know, a little bit of experience doing that kind of stuff, but I just feel like there's going to be more and more in the future where it's like we kind of have more control over what we can do. And, you know, we kind of will be the stars of our own show versus, like, the you know, little robots making stuff. Great. Okay, so now we're going to go to a Twitter question.
Twitter.
This is from Jury Dio Wang. What is your favorite food?
Like one?
Yeah, your one favorite food. That's if you had to choose just one.
I sound like a politician, but I can't answer that. I can't choose. I don't have a favorite anything.
Okay.
I've never had favorites, never had a favorite color. So I kind of like more of like a flavor of the week.
How democratic and political of you.
Yeah. But I would say like right now, I'm really into like any crisp roast meat.
Okay.
Like juicy on the inside, crisp on the outside. Like it can be anything. I'm happy to eat it.
Great choice.
Like, I'm very like,
Always
it's like, I'm a not picky eater. Like, I know what I like what I like, but what I like is, like, pretty simple. It's, like, not hard. It's, like, just put some salt and tomatoes and on some bread and I'm happy.
Right. I like that. Made it easier for me to cook tonight, for sure. Let's go to YouTube. And this person asks in the YouTube community section, what is the best way to cook shrimp?
Best way to cook shrimp?
Yeah.
So I hate shrimp with the peel on. Because it's just so messy, and if I'm eating, I just want to eat, not do too much work. So if it's like peeled shrimp, I think the best way is really just like on the stove, sear it. You don't really need too much seasoning because if you're gonna cook it hot, it's gonna burn.
Right.
And then like in college, just a lot of people putting like loads of seasoning on shrimp and then it just like charred off in seconds.
Yeah. Also, they're so small, so if you put too much seasoning, it's gonna taste like a salt lick. You know.
Yeah. So just like a little bit of salt and pan fry it is like a great weeknight thing, but I actually really most enjoy shrimp in like a curry. You know, like just like put it in like almost like you're poaching it in that liquid. Like I think shrimp in like a green curry is solid. Nice.
Okay. All right. Now the last one that we'll do is from Facebook. This is from a person named TaeNG, so TaeNGG. I've never tried authentic Kenyan food. What is the first thing I should try making?
Ooh, making.
Yeah.
I'd say mandazi.
Okay, yeah. Explain what that is.
So mandazi is a Kenyan donut. It's really simple. It can be a yeasted donut, but I don't even bother with it. I don't like the flavor of the yeasted one.
Okay.
So it's like simple. It's like flour, and I do coastal style one, which is like with coconut milk, some cardamom, and baking powder, and you just like make a really quick dough and like deep fry them, and they are super soft. They're really good.
They're like the pillowy.
Yeah, they're
like oh.
They're just so good, and they're like very Kenyan food for it isn't what people don't know much about it, and it's very different than our neighbor Ethiopia, where they have like this like heavy spice food. They have this like fermented flatbread injera, so it's like very like it's a lot more
Strong.
bold flavors. I mean, there's some dishes that are like so mild, but Kenyan food is really, really simple, and kind of like stripped down. But mandazi is just like, they're great. It's kind of like similar to beignet, if you ever had that. Just with different flavorings. So you have the coconut milk and cardamom in there. But there's even plain mandazis which have none of that. Maybe a touch of cinnamon. But they're like, who doesn't love donuts?
No. I've had them before. You've made them. And that's like one of my favorite donuts I've ever had, because usually when I have donuts, they're way too sweet. And I don't like that. And I also don't like cakey stuff. And these are much more pillowy.
It's like bread, yeah.
Yeah, and so it was favorite. And then I liked that since it wasn't so sweet, I could really taste a little bit of the coconut and the cardamom. And I was just like, whoa. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Mandazi for sure. As far as making.
Yeah.
But there's like lots of great things. A stew, like a simple beef and potato stew with chapati is really great. Palau is bomb, and that's actually fairly easy to make too. Just takes a bit of time, but palau is another good one if you want like a savory meal.
Yeah.
I'd go for that.
Amazing. Okay, so that was the segment What At? Now that we've kind of eaten our appetizers and we finished a few questions, we're going to actually move on to the dinner. Woohoo.
Oh gosh, I could eat this all day. This is dinner, dessert, snack time.
Well, be ready because there's a lot more coming.
Oh boy, I'm excited.
And this next segment is called Dream Dish. So while I'm plating you your dream dish, you have to think of something that you're going to dish for me and tell me a secret that you kind of never really told anyone before. That way we have like a secret like that we can share with our time together.
Oh my god, a secret?
Yeah.
Crap.
You don't have to like, it doesn't have to be like your deep darkest thing, just like something you never really told someone. You have time to think. I'll be right back. Da-da-da.
This is hard. It's also, my mind goes to like a very dark place because I watch way too much Gossip Girl while growing up. So I'm just like, secrets are like life learning in my mind. I don't think I have any. Oh my god, it's so sizzling.
I have to serve you hot food. Does the food look good?
Oh my god, this is like literally, you know, this is like my favorite. Sometimes I like to pretend that I'm in like living the summer Italian lifestyle in the countryside and like on the terrace eating, you know, bruschetta and Milanese and like all this stuff. Like, mind you, I've never been to the Italian countryside, but in my little apartment, that's the life I'm living in my head.
It looks kind of like it. Your apartment is definitely channeling those vibes. And of course, I kind of sent Kiano a text earlier this week saying what would be your dream dinner, and this is what she had said. And of course, I always have a few liberties to make it my own. But so here we have chicken Milanese, which is basically like a pounded chicken breast that is breaded with flour, eggs, breadcrumbs, and it has like, it's a seasoned, so there's some garlic, some parsley, some salt and pepper in there, and we have some fresh lemon to squeeze over. Then here is an arugula salad with some more tomatoes, parmesan, a little bit of pecans, and a lemon dressing, which I will put over it soon. And then here we have some crepes Suzette, which is basically like homemade crepes that you kind of coat in like a orangey, buttery sauce, and usually you can like light them on fire, but we're not gonna do that in my tiny little apartment here today. Yeah, so I'll start kind of dishing you some food, all right?
This is like my happy meal. It's so funny because it's like, as much as like I can get fussy and like I have like spices up the wahoo. I have like my spice cupboard, and then I have an extra spice box for the spices I don't fit in the spice cupboard. But then like simple meals like this are the ones that I like love the most.
I was gonna say, it is a very simple dinner.
I love arugula. You know what's the weirdest thing about when I was living in England?
What?
It's like, we all know British English. I know original English is different than American English. But there's some word differences we have that just blow my mind. And this is one of them.
Oh yeah, rocket is theirs.
Rocket.
Yeah.
I think, what is that? Probably like Italian. It sounds like it's not English. I think we borrowed it from a foreign country.
Yeah.
Which is funny because they borrow loads of their words from like the French, like what we call eggplant, they call aubergine, which is like super French.
Yeah, and then zucchini's courgette.
Courgette. They steal everything from the French, or borrow everything from the French, but then when it comes to like arugula, instead of taking, you know, a nice word, rocket.
Yeah.
Because of the shape looks like, well, I guess a rocket ship.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun.
Okay. But wait, so you still didn't give me like a secret. I know you said you couldn't think of a secret.
I don't have secrets.
But then I have another way we could kind of switch it up a bit, because maybe it's not like an internal secret, but you are from the Maasai tribe in Kenya, and not the world is kind of a secret to the world because not many people know about it. So that could be interesting. Like I've learned a little bit through my time learning from you and your mom telling me things, but tell the people what's so cool about the Maasai tribe in Kenya.
So it's so funny because like for Maasai people, we are not like the face of the country, but it's like I think disproportionately presented like in the country. Like as soon as you arrive in the Jomo Kenyatta airport in Nairobi, you see like photos of like Maasai people smiling. It's like, welcome to Kenya. But I was really shocked to find out that we only make up about 2% of the population.
Oh shoot.
Like we're teeny tiny. But I think the reason why there's like been so much intrigue around the Maasai is that like we've been like very culturally preserved. So post-colonialism, like there's like a lot of changes between like bringing this British culture and like everyone having their traditional culture, where I feel like Maasai like kind of try to hold on to those traditions best can. Yeah, and like kind of like stayed off a bit, which is like changing like at a rapid rate. Like last summer we went and we shot a video of doing like our traditional way of barbecuing. My grandparents, we have a ranch, which is like Maasai people, we are like ranchers and stuff. Like we've always like looked after livestock, and that's like kind of what we like lived off of. So it's a business end as well as like the way we had food. And it's like very typical on a Sunday, slaughter an animal, barbecue, all that stuff. But instead of like the younger guys doing it, the younger guys are doing it, but the older generations, like my grandparents' generation, are telling them what to do. And that's not traditional at all. But it's because the young ones are like, everyone lives in the city and they're working and they're doing this stuff. So they're not home full time. They only go back home like to the country on the weekends.
Right. Okay.
And like Monday through Friday, they're in the city. And then like literally a lot of people will go home back to like Maasai people go back to like their family, like more rural areas on the weekend. So they're not full time and they don't know all the traditions. They don't know the way to butcher the animal without direction from like their parents, which has never been a thing before because like people are living in two worlds now. But it's really, I think it's really cool still like how, like having grown up in California, I was able to spend my summers in Kenya, my grandparents. Because like when you're a kid, they're like, here's 3 months to run around and do nothing. And my mom's like, what do we do? So I spent a lot of my summers there with my grandparents. Like, and they have like a ranch in the mountains. So like there was nothing else to do but like hop in and do the ranch work and like help round up the goats and like cows to make sure they didn't get eaten by lions, because that's a thing. You have to like make sure they're all there, because if they're not in the pen, they won't just get lost. There'll be dinner for one of the big cats in the area. Which I think most of them are gone, but I know we still have leopards in the area.
That's scary. Have you ever like seen one kind of face to face?
When I was 9, I came face to face with a cheetah.
Whoa.
Because back then, like my grandparents had a very traditional home, and every building is its own thing. So the kitchen is its own building, and like the like residential is its own building, and then the bathroom is its own. So it's nighttime. I'm in the bathroom. I open the door. And there it is, just looking back at me to close the door.
I'm gonna sleep in here tonight.
I know, but it was like, it's like a really small, it was like, made out of like tin, like literally like those like wavy tin stuff. So it's like very fragile, and there's like tiny little holes in the tin. And there's about like 9 dogs on the ranch, and these dogs are there to like protect the animals from these wild animals. And all you have to do is whistle. And they'll come. But I was 9 and I didn't know how. So I spent like a half hour like leaning against this hole trying to like get anything out. Because like it's not even just a whistle. You have to do a whistle. It's like and then they'll come.
Got it.
9-year-old me could not do that.
Oh, wow.
So I just like tried and finally got enough noise where like the dogs came. Then I heard like fighting, and then I heard a gap of silence, and then I just bolted. I just left and like ran for my little life. And I like get in the house. I'm like, Mom, it was with me. I saw the yellow eyes. And she was like, no, it must have been a dog. And I'm like, I know what I saw. And she like...
That's very your mom to be like, no, it was a dog.
No, it was fine. But later on, like every time I went to Kenya as a kid, something almost killed me. Like I've been followed by like a black mamba snake. Oh, shit. Which are like the most poisonous in our house. Is like in the mountains, like I would have been made to a hospital with my tiny body. Like, I've gone to our watering tank and there's just like a big elephant bull hanging out there, and I was like, I'm gonna turn back and go. But my mom, every time, she's like, no, it wasn't what you saw, because she just didn't want to panic me to the point and being like, yeah, she did almost die. And then like I'll probably be like, we're never going to grandma's again.
Right, okay. So that was smart of her then.
Yeah, so she tried to like hype it down.
Yeah.
In order for me to like not be like afraid to leave the house.
Great.
Essentially.
Well, that's enough of a secret to me. I think that's like I feel like that's like 20 secrets. Okay, good. Well,
See, to me, secrets are like scandalous.
Right.
Like life ruining.
Well, just mostly it just means like share something that we haven't ever heard about you. So like that would be enough. Is this all this information? So yeah, let's try it now. What did you try the chicken yet, or what did you bite into?
Chicken.
Okay.
So good, so moist.
Oh yeah.
This is so great. It's so funny because like, I've never been keen. You know, like the fried chicken, where it's like that really thick like crunch coating on it. Mm-hmm. I hate that. I like it light. Like I don't want the batter to like compete with the chicken.
This is just a one-time batter. I need to go double back in the breadcrumb. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't like double coated.
The lemon juice on top of the chicken is really good too.
Mm-hmm. I'm so into this. This is like the food that I can eat all day, every day, never get tired from, but also not feel gross from eating.
Yeah.
Because like, especially if I have something fried, I like having it with like a light salad and something acidic to like counteract.
Oh, for sure.
Like, I couldn't do like fried chicken with mashed potatoes.
Yeah, no.
It's too much. Like, somebody will have to roll me home, roll me to the car, and then like roll me to my front door.
Yeah. And what's nice is like all this stuff really is like very citrusy. So even though we are having fried chicken and like dessert, it's we're gonna be fine after, you know.
There's maybe
I'm gonna be feeding you a lot, so maybe you won't be as fine, but I will be. I won't be that. I won't be that full.
I love this. This is all the food I could ever ask for.
Yay!
Can I request foods all the time?
Listen,
this is great.
Well, hey, you know, you're always welcome over. We have dinner parties, and I usually bring stuff, but maybe I need to host some more of my own. Okay, so while we can still keep eating, but I just kind of want to, dive deeper into Kiano's psyche. So this is the like actual like dinner view part. All right, so just like we've had like a really interesting career so far. Obviously, we did BuzzFeed Tasty together, but like you've also done a lot with like food publishing, and so like for you, and I know you've kind of told me about we're like standing in for the show, but what is like your kind of career goal? What do you want to do with your life?
So I've always said, like, my industry is I want to be in the business of culinary education. So anything I do, whether it be like in print publishing or video, I want it to be useful as like a learning tool. Food is kind of like that weird realm of edutainment.
Totally.
Where it's like you can get very practical knowledge from it as well as be entertained. But I think what really drove me to want to have this type of career in food is like the whole teaching thing. That's why like restaurants are for, like, I would love to like maybe like have a restaurant one day where I don't have to be in the kitchen. Cause
right. Just own.
Yeah. But for me, it's really about like teaching people. And there's just so many ways of doing that. Like my background is like a bit of like a mixed media one where like I, did my grad in traditional publishing, and boy, that was like old school. Like, here's how you print, here's the type of paper you print on, and here's how you cut it, and like how to learn how to bind books by hand and all of that. But there's like a great power in cookbooks and all of that, and I love print. It's still like a really great tool, but I also understand like the power of video and like how the access to it and how many people you can reach. And so like whatever tools like our technology and like world bring to us to like help spread education about how to make things, about telling people's stories through food. I think educating people about other cultures is like a big one for me.
Definitely.
But not just to be like, hey, check out this country with the stuff you've never heard of, but really to allow groups to have a voice to represent themselves. Particularly with Kenya, a lot of the media I've seen growing up about Kenya have been like one of two things: highlighting and celebrating our wildlife, because it is so vast. It's like everything from the Lion King is like in my grandparents' backyard.
Right.
Like all of it, which is really cool, and like which brings in so much tourism and everything. But when it comes to like our people and culture, the only representation I saw in media were those like late night ads for nonprofits where it's like the starving children and like, and that's a representation a lot of pretty much the whole continent of Africa, particularly sub-Saharan Africa, has had. Yeah. It's like, come for the wildlife and help these really poor people. And of course there's like, it's a, you know, a lot of developing nations, like there are needs, and I think it's great for people to never forget that even though you're living a great life, there are people who are in need. Mm-hmm. But there's also people who are happy and like have this like fantastic life and a lot of great culture that isn't really celebrated outside of those spaces. So there's not a fair representation. Yeah. And I don't want it just to be like outside people coming in being like, look at this stuff. It's like, let people have a voice of showing you. It's like, you can go to someone's house and show them around, or they can show you around their own house. Yeah, so like
empowering and like giving resources that they can fully showcase their own culture.
Yeah, like let people have a voice in their own food. That's why I was really happy. Like when Claire, one of like our former coworkers at Tasty, and I like went, I was like, it was vacation for me, but I was like, I want to shoot videos while I'm here because I want to be able to have a chance to let us speak for ourselves. Yeah. And like, you know, Kenya's always been seen and for me shown highlight in those like two other categories. I'm like, no, like we're here and I'm gonna like show you from like as much as I can from like my perspective of being like Kenyan and like perspective of like the people that we met while out there, of like, this is us and this is our culture, rather than outside people being like, look at these people and this fascinating thing they have. Like, no Columbus syndrome. Like, I'm so over it. And like really frustrated and bored by it of like, check out this weird thing these people are doing. Yeah. And like, there's also a lot of commonalities too. Yeah. And like finding those are really fun for me.
Like I was going to say, like, when you kind of had that like Columbus narrative or like the colonialism thing, it's like, it's almost like they look at a new culture as like a monolith, whereas like there has to be range in every single place you go, right? And like I think that's when it becomes really exciting to learn from, when you have both like obviously the people that, you know, maybe need more help in developing like even poorer cities or poorer towns or whatever, but then there's probably like higher up, more like luxurious, and just like the range of what can be different is what's fascinating. I think we only would get that through if you weren't outside from like so much time and research, whereas you can literally just be like, hey, you want to tell me about it?
Yeah. Easier. No, people, if you ask people about themselves with genuine interest, you'll learn so much. Yeah. So I think that's like kind of, I think for part of our jobs was like to surprise people with food, particularly when you're making viral content. Mm-hmm. I think a big part for me is, yes, it's great to invent something new, but there is a lot of stuff that people still don't know about. Mm-hmm. And there's, I think, a fair way of presenting that information where you're not like stealing from anyone's culture or anything, but like truly like highlighting and like celebrating like all the things that we have to offer.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that too, because we've always had these conversations about just like how white and European a lot of food media is. And like I would love to like obviously document a lot of that conversation, because like I think there's such a missed opportunity for like, even like there's certain things that's like, even for Shanique, where she wants me to make her some like authentic like Jamaican food, right? And I know like a version of it, but I want like the real stuff. And she shared some found recipes, but when I went online to go look, like the amount, it's like so hard to find, whereas like imagine how much more the food world could be if we had authentic like recipes written from people that are living in Ethiopia, Kenya, and like in these places, and like it's like access for everyone in the world to like read and learn from. Yeah. And so yeah, like what are your opinions on like European food media and like what you hope the future is?
It's funny because it's like there's kind of like one of two ways. Like the US and UK have like very, very different food media cultures. Like I never really saw much of like British food. Like everyone's like, how, you're a food person, like you live in England. And I was like, I mean, I was living in London. It's to me it was just a sample of the world. Right. and a lot of the food media comes out of London, if not almost all of it. So it reflected a lot more of like an international palette. Even though like all the companies I was like interning at or would meet were still like very like white and very English. What was like the normal, what people were eating, like what people were familiar with is like they know without having to be like, oh, that's interesting.
Right.
Was a lot more diverse than what I was used to in America.
Right.
Where there's like, I know there's like a whole lot of thing of like if someone's going to Ethiopia and it's like, oh, we're going to do this adventurous thing,
right,
rather than being like, I'm just craving this food. It's
right,
like a lot more of like an event, and it's not very normalized. Where I think curry is England's national dish.
Right. Yeah.
Like something that is foreign is like fully integrated into the culture. Yeah. So I put a separation between the two, but I don't know. I just think there's just like such a limit of voices in food media. Yeah. You have the chef restaurant world, which is still very like male dominated. It's
egotistical.
Has a very certain age demographic. A lot of white dudes.
Yeah.
And then like food media, domestic food media is like very female dominated, very, but like homemaker, like housewife, like very, so it's still like not representative of a lot of things. And then when people outside of those like dominant groups break into those industries, they kind of like get their lane.
Right.
Of like, okay, like, yes, you can come in and like cook for us, but like, why don't you just show us like that food? Like, I'm excited for there to be like more famous Black chefs who aren't doing soul food.
Right.
Because it's kind of like the lane.
Yeah. That
I think that like at least for Black chefs have been given.
Which is why you said like I'll never make fried chicken on camera or whatever.
Hell
like,
no.
Yeah, like that same sort
but
of
it's
thing.
like also like because like for me that's like not my culture. Like I don't know anything more about it being brown than like anything. Like I've eaten it, but it's not part of it. I have no lineage, no history, like no attachment to it because I'm first generation.
Right.
And like we're so asked earlier about Trinidadian food. Like there's so many faces and voices and like cuisine types, but you kind of like still get like brought into like one category. And I'm like, I can't tell you any more than like someone who's like from Mexican background. Like and it's weird because being brown in America is that we have like a shared Black experience because exterior wise no one can really tell the difference between Americans, Caribbeans, Africans, but our cultures, our houses are completely different. So I don't know, like that's not the food I know anything about, like more so than I would know about Chinese food.
Right. Yeah.
I know about it because I've had it and I've researched and I like made recipes, but I have no family lineage to it. I didn't grow up having it. It's not the food we have like on holidays, like none of that. Yeah. So I think just like giving people like voices to make whatever the hell they want is kind of the overall thing. If you want to make your cultural food, do it. Yeah. If you want to be a pastry chef, do it. Like let people make what they want and teach what they want as long as they have the skills and talent behind it. The boxes shouldn't really exist, but I feel like if you look at like who's out there, they're in a lot of boxes. And there's people breaking out of it. But overall, very compartmentalized.
Yeah. Yeah. And then so we kind of talked a little about food and about your background. Now, is there any other things just like in like kind of like the pop culture or newsy stuff that you're really jazzed up about now that you want to talk about? Anything in the world that's just like activist-y stuff? Is there anything in that realm that you're interested in?
Oh.
Yeah. I'd love to go deep. And like what are you like obsessed with right now currently?
What am I obsessed with that isn't food? I always joke about this where I'm like, I need a hobby that isn't my occupation. Because like my hobby has become my job.
Right.
Now I need a hobby that isn't food because I'm like a nerd. Like everything I do is like I eat, sleep, and breathe like food media stuff. But the things that like really intrigue me are just like any like advancements in like technology. Like those are really, really cool. I've been traveling for the past couple weeks, and I just came from Amsterdam. It was my first time in Holland, which is like, first of all, if Amsterdam has not been on your travel list, it should be.
I want to go.
Like, I knew I would like it, but holy moly, it's just like expectations were like already good, but it exceeded like exponentially. We went to an art gallery And it was the art gallery had an exhibit that had to do with the apartheid, because the Dutch are the ones that colonized South Africa. So that whole separation between the Dutch and then the Black South Africans was within my lifetime. It's like early 90s. It was it literally was just like the other day. And that to me like made me feel so weird. Like as I'm like sitting somewhere in the world playing on the playground with my friends from all these different countries, they're kids my age, same situation, other side of the planet, who are like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And like, obviously there's always like opposed to anything, and I'm sure the country's not perfect, but the fact that's gone now, and then Nelson Mandela is president, like a lot can change in a very, very short amount of time.
I guess, well, if he's in charge, like I think it really comes down with who's leading the country.
I know, but he went from prison, from being imprisoned to the president. Like, radical change always comes. Like, same goes with like not every, because there's still some conflicts that have been going on way too long.
Right.
But I think with time, like time is like the ultimate healer of everything. Totally. Like everything that's like crap now will iron itself out, because with each generation comes new ideas, new passions, new feelings. Like my youngest brother is, what is he, Gen Z? What are they called?
Gen Z. Like I'm on the.
Oh, are you one of them?
I'm on the line of Gen Z and millennial.
Christ, I feel old.
Yeah, like the year I am is like the breaker.
But the way he sees the world, is so different. Than me.
Yeah, because I think it's because we have social media that really like allows you like to see like people from all around the world and just like have like different opinions all in one like timeline of sorts.
Yeah.
But it only works if you're able to be like, I'm gonna get my news from this outlet and like really get a good picture versus like just like the fake news.
I think it's also like culture. Like what's cool is like so much more universal. Like I can bounce from country to country to country, which I'm like is like my favorite thing to do, and I'm so lucky I can. But when I look at the youth, they're all the same. The things that the kids are wearing here in LA, the ones in Paris, the ones in London, the ones in Nairobi, they're all so similar. You can put all those kids in like one room and they'll all have fun and have loads of things to talk about.
Got it.
Like they're
all watching popular media.
Yeah, there's so much more like one culture, and there's just so much more like in common. Plus like they grew up with this access where like I saw the change. Like I remember still like having, if I had to print a paper, I had to put it on a floppy disk. Yeah. I grew up in a time, millennials, we grew up in like the turn of technology where like Gen Z grew up with it.
Yeah.
So it's like very different.
My family had a really old computer. I came in like when jump drives were a thing, so floppy disks were before me. And then I think I kind of joined like the internet when like Facebook came around, like when I was a freshman. So I never did MySpace, or any of the other things.
You
like
never had
Facebook.
to do a top 8?
No, I don't know what that is. Is that with MySpace?
On MySpace, you had to like pick your 8 favorite people. Yeah. And put them on your like top 8 friends on your profile.
Oh, so that could be like dramatic if you like excluded a friend. Oh, interesting. Yeah, no, it's like I think because I was a freshman in high school when like Facebook I think started, and I got a Facebook, and that was like my first time. Next question is, throughout your career so far, like what have been like the hardest like setbacks, or like what have been like the hardest hurdles for you so far?
I definitely would say the hardest was like kind of like finding the purpose in my work. I think with everything, you have like your dream and you're like, I want to do this as a career. But like no one really prepares you for is like the role that career will have in your life. When you're working like full time, it is like a bulk of your life. And like in America, like it's funny, I have like friends who are Scandinavian who will point out of like, for them, their identity is not tied to their occupation. Where in America, it's like people ask, what do you do? Because it's like a part of who you are. And it's like, in a weird way, it's like a reflection of like your personality. And it shouldn't be that way. Your job should just be your job and you are you. Yeah. And they're not the same. But I feel like as a creative, you can't. It's like, it's kind of like the whole point of like doing some sort of like any kind of art, which is always weird. Like I went to art school for undergrad and grad school. And both the times I was like, who let me in here? I feel like an imposter. Because like I don't feel like an artist, you know?
Yeah. You are. Are you kidding me?
But I mean, like I feel like I'm like a scientific based artist. Like the way I
edible
cook.
Artist.
Yeah, I cook from like logic and science more than from passion.
Right. Okay.
Like that's like I don't feel I like it's very I have a very scientific approach to how I cook. So I think finding like doing a job where you're getting paid to like write recipes and like teach people how to cook never seemed like a possibility for me. I thought my career in food would come in my 40s. The hurdle was, is this something that I want for a career? Should this stay my hobby? And that was like very much so because like it's passion and I loved it. And then I get in the space where I realize that, kind of we were talking about earlier, there's such a lack of representation and voices. And the reason why I learned that wasn't because I was like, I went to a job and like microanalyzed. The audience let me know from day one that we had a lack of representation, because as soon as my first video went out, there was an overwhelming number of comments that were like very Jim Crow era, racist, tasty, go back to using white hands only. And then I was just like, what the hell? And then like I looked back and I was like looking at old content. I'm like, wow, there are like little to no brown hands ever here, except for when there's like a celebrity and it was like, you know, like Terry Crews talking about like, here's how you make my thing. And like beyond that, there was nothing. And within literally my first video, I realized that my job wasn't going to be able to just be to make recipes because I wasn't in a position for that. And like the world we live in wouldn't allow for that. And it would have to be something more of making way for people who you're not used to seeing, teaching you how to do things or whatever, and making a space for not just myself, but for other people who come from the non-dominant backgrounds to have like room. And so that kind of like very quickly became the objective of what I wanted. And it was hard because it wasn't what I set out to do by taking the job. I was going to make recipes, and it was like very hard to like make stuff that people weren't asking for. And like kind of like asking to have less of. They were like literally like, can you not make videos anymore? We don't like looking like at like your hands or like your skin tone. And so it was like hard to like push on and like do not just the content, but like find, you know, my teammates like you guys and like everyone else to like also help increase representation the best we can by like collaborating with more people, just so like, kind of like condition folks just to get over it.
Get over it.
Just get over it.
Once they get over it, they're like, oh shit, there is so much I don't know. Like how cool. But yeah, I think that was the hurdle that I'm really glad we kind of at least started. I think now that we're gone, I don't know what they're gonna be doing. Like, I mean,
overall though, it's like it's all of food media. It's a lot of parts of media. I think 2018 in media was like a big year of like starting the conversation about why representation matters. But like it's something that's gonna be with me my entire career. Like I can't shake it. I am who I am. I can't hide it. My perspective is of one of, you know, African lens, you know, but still having lived in America and like other places, like it's the way I see things won't be like anyone else. I look the way I do, I talk the way I do. It's all with me. So it's not the hard part of like having to do it, because just like living life, but of like, I think as soon as I started my career, realizing that I was going to have goals and objectives that I didn't realize I had to until I was there. But as soon as I got there, it's like...
So like the hurdle was when you thought you would have been welcome, you felt you weren't, but then you pushed past that, and now through that you found like your purpose. Which is amazing.
Because I thought I was just going to like make food and like let it be fun, which I still am. But it does come with like a lot more. And it's like, I think it's a conscious effort to not only for myself, but like for the other producers and people I meet around to help increase the awareness. And like, because with every cause you need allies. Like that's the only way anything gets done, to like let people know like, hey, this is how I'm seeing things. And a lot of people are like, oh, I never realized that. What can I do to also help? And I think that's like huge for me.
Okay. So let's keep finishing the dessert. I'm glad you like it. The next thing I'm going to do is ask you a question from here, because in the DinnerViews guest book, everyone kind of signs their name, and then they write a question for the next person.
Oh, that's cool.
So Sheila, she wrote, this is a question for you, and she said, What is the mark that you want to leave in this world?
Oh, I like kind of touched on it a bit.
Yeah, we did.
I have 2 marks. One is for like my people, for my tribe. And like I really would love to do a project that helps like preserve the story of our culture. Preserve those traditions, those stories, those like ways that like were once a thing of the past, just so they don't fade.
Yeah.
And
Both
then,
physically and digitally would be great. Or like
I think like it
interface.
was immersive. I think it would be so cool if there was like a Maasai museum or cultural center.
Wow.
That'd be dope.
Okay, and then what was the second one?
The second one is just like, I think it's just like a lot more general, but just help inspire, motivate people to not order delivery and cook.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Like I get tempted to order delivery, and like I save myself by the just like inspire people to like do for oneself and learn. Not because it's like a necessary life skill, but I think a lot of great things happen around the table. A lot of community. You have people living in major cities and they're lonely and they're by themselves and they're, you know, a lot of depression around it, and just like people to feel that they can just call up a couple friends and like have them around the table and like feel confident to do that.
Yeah.
And just like gather around food.
Yeah, in the same way. It's like, I think one of my biggest passions is like bringing food back into the home and realizing that it's such a huge part of like human history and human connection. And like, it's just so innate. And I feel like we've lost that in the last few decades. And like, I want to, hopefully with other amazing people, be a part of like bringing that back just to everyday like life, you know?
Yeah, and I think it's like a part of like who we are.
Yeah,
It's like,
as humans.
yeah, eat together, join together, cook together. All the best things happen around food.
Great. So, you're going to write your, we're going to have you sign your name in the official guest book and then write a question for our guest next week. And
But I don't tell, because then they'll find out next
Yeah,
time.
it's supposed to be a surprise.
Okay.
So you can keep it a secret. And I'll get you a pen. Ooh, it's a long question. A long question.
This is fun.
Yay!
Yeah.
Great.
You're going to wait till next week?
I don't look at it until next week.
That's like a good self-control.
Isn't that fun? And then, yeah, so this has kind of been the DinnerView. What did you think of all the food, and how did you think of your time with me tonight?
I literally can wake up, eat those tomatoes, but everything was so good. Like I couldn't.
Good.
It's hard to put a fork down, but gosh, those tomatoes.
Good. Yeah, and then like my last few questions are always just like, if you could talk to like a younger Kiano, like what kind of advice would you give her?
Younger me?
Yeah.
Even though like I definitely feel like all the choices I made have led me to where I am today. But younger me, I would say, don't feel like your dreams are too big.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's definitely the one.
Every kid, I think, needs to know that, because I feel like people just get shot down so easily, and that's wonderful.
Yeah, never dream smaller than you feel like you should.
Literally nothing is stopping. The world is our oyster.
I think you're usually your worst enemy. That's my advice to my younger self.
Great. That was a good one. And then, is there anything else you want to say to like anyone who's watching, that they made it all the way through this entire hour of talking and eating and like ASMR sounds?
I really hope you eat while watching this.
Yeah. Well, that's what I want. I want people to like get a snack and like sit down and eat with us while we're chatting. Like that's what I want. It's just like we're your company while you're meal prepping. We're your company while you're eating. We're your company when you're like you want lunch but you're on the treadmill still and you're like ready to eat afterwards. Ooh. Like but that's what I want. So good. Yeah, like get a snack and enjoy your time with Kiano and I. So thank you. That's a DinnerView.
Thank you for cooking for me.
Of course. Give me a hug.
Thanks, Matthew.
Yay. Wasn't this fun? Thank you for coming.
Of course. Should I cut?
Yes, cut.